Is an advisor to a number of Democrats in Washington. He says every billionaire is a policy failure, meaning that effectively by becoming a billionaire, that the way the policies are set up, whether it's tax or other policies, is a failure. Do you agree with that?
No. That's so screwed up. I mean, what happens is we have a system that I think is a beautiful system that connects, but it's imperfect.
Right.
That it connects productivity or what you're giving to what you're getting back. And those people generally are, I'd say almost, are net contributors to the society. And it's a dream. That was what the American dream was, okay? But in order to have the results that we want, we have to make it a fair game, right?
Okay, but let's talk about a fair game, and this one may be complicated for you. Bridgewater was subsidized, took a tax subsidy from the state of Connecticut, $22 million, I believe, a couple years ago, to stay in Connecticut. These are sort of part of the larger issues that are being raised around how capitalism in the purest private sense works relative to how public policy works in tandem with it.
Yeah, so there's always economic issues for anybody in terms of whether they're going to stay or leave and their calculations. And I was CEO at the time, I'm now chairman. I ran it at a time where there was the question of what it means for each employee and what they're paying for taxes and what that means for equalizing them. That's a practical reality. I think, another practical reality is donating $100 million to do this. This is the practical reality. I think that, let's put that aside. That may have been a mistake for us to take. I think probably it was a mistake because everybody pays too much attention to that and not enough attention to what it means to pull together to do the things right. In any case, that's part of the system.
Do you think
in
it was a mistake
terms
for you
of
to take it or a mistake for Connecticut to offer it?
No, mistake to us to take it.
Because of the conversation it's created? Not
because of the conversation it's created. Because people pay too much attention to those types of things where when you're thinking about it, like the spirit of the people at Bridgewater is this is a home. This is a community. This is a place that we don't want to move. But it does have effect in terms of dollars and so on. And that was small in the scope of everything in that notion. Right. So the important thing here is to pull together and to do this. My wife has been doing this for 10 years. This is not a new program that we're doing. We've been doing this for 10 years. And if you look at what the other people in Bridgewater have done in terms of the contributions, in total, we've paid over $1 billion in taxes over the last 10 years. The philanthropic has been about $250 million donations, and I think too much attention is spent on this. So I think it was a mistake.
After you last night, Langone was on. So Langone raised $100 million for NYU Medical School, and then actually contributed. Then another $350 million he raised. Here's his book. It's called "I Love Capitalism." He created a company that now has 325,000 employees, $225 billion in market cap that shareholder wealth has accrued. His ideas are in contrast to yours. I don't know who's right and who's wrong, but when he looks at education, he looks at maybe private, like choice, maybe charter schools. Your contribution goes to public schools, which I would say that's not the private sector's issue. That's the public sector that has messed up the public school system, right? So what is the difference between you and Ken Langone? He says, I love capitalism. He's created 325,000 jobs. You say that capitalism is the problem.
I think, first of all, I think you're splitting hairs between us.
What do you mean splitting hairs?
If you'll give me a chance to answer, I will answer. Okay. I think you're splitting hairs between us because I think that we're both capitalists. It's all work for us. Right. He's a very philanthropic man who wants to go for the goals, and he's a big contributor in that particular way. The question is whether you make it pervasively effective. I personally believe that if you don't make public education pervasively excellent, the way that I had, and operate that way, that's not adequate. And when I say I believe, I would say it's my wife who believes this, too. She's led the way. I watch her go into these schools and watch these teachers, and I look at the starvation, essentially, the financial and, in some cases, nutritional starvation that goes on in the public school systems. And I think that that's a national problem. But it's not just school systems. It has to do with that notion of getting basic things that you want and I want for our children. The thing that you want more, and everybody wants more, is to have take care of the basics. Can I have nutrition? Can I have an adequate education? If you take care of those basics. So in one way or another, the way that is lost. I know Ken, and I know he wouldn't object to anything that I'm saying. And I also would know that if you take a look at it, we each pick the things that are most important to us.
No, I understand. I'm just trying to understand the reforms to the capitalist system that you're espousing. I still don't understand.
I'm trying to make
we got to take a quick pause. I have one question, then we're going to go and we're going to come back and talk education. But in terms of taxes to yourself, you said you'd be open to higher taxes on yourself.
Yes, of course.
What does that mean? And the reason I ask is, and I've talked a lot about this, you're going to give a lot of money away over your lifetime.
Yeah.
Probably most of it.
Yeah.
Most of that will not ever get taxed. You will get to choose how you get to spend that money in a way that most taxpayers do not. Do you think there should be a tax, effectively, on the philanthropy, given that the majority of your wealth currently under the current structure will never actually get into the tax system and therefore be able to be used through the government, if you will?
I think taxes and philanthropy each have their roles. I think philanthropy serves the purpose of being able to say that this thing, on the money that you've earned, you can focus on those things that you think are most important to you. I think the problem exists when, whether it's an absence of philanthropy or an absence of taxation, that there is a failure to deliver that result. I honestly don't understand what we're arguing about. I don't understand what we're arguing about. What? That those kids or those people shouldn't be raised? The cost is $900 million to the state of Connecticut for incarceration. The United States has 5 times the next highest country's incarceration rate in terms of that. That's a product, and that's changed over a period of time. So we have a problem, right?
We need to equalize opportunity, just like you're saying. But we need to use capitalism to provide the funds that equalize the opportunity. That's my only point.
Do you think the system is delivering those results?
I don't think that you can do an experiment in a vacuum and say it's because of a flaw in capitalism. I think there's myriad flaws for the way I think there's drugs. I think there's single parents. I think there's it's systemic poverty that's been around forever. If you want to tax wealthy people more and try to fix all these things, then let's do it. Fine, but you're not going to make.
In this LinkedIn piece, I take point by point. I do it from an engineering point of view. Right now, this is a short conversation that is like this. If you want to take the time to look at it point by point from an engineering, how much of it is because of technology replacing the middle class? How much of it is this thing or that thing? You could look on the LinkedIn piece and piece by piece. Find something there that you disagree with, and I'd be happy to respond to it.